Greetings, everyone, and a very warm welcome to another edition, a special edition, I might add, of Marketing the Invisible. It's special because today I'm joined by one of my favorite communicators, Simon Bowen. Simon, g'day, sir. You're also, I think, down under. Is that correct?
I am. I'm in Perth, west side
Yeah.
of the country.
Geez Louise, it's early over there. You've got up before breakfast for the show. Thank you very much. Hope you had a coffee.
I did. I have.
7 a.m. kickoff for Simon in Perth. Um, for those of you who have been living under a digital marketing rock, Simon is the founder of the Models Method, which is one of the well, it's a genius method for communicating something that might otherwise be complex. One of the big issues with marketing and generating a sales conversation is to communicate clearly what the value proposition is, and sometimes including the methodology. And these are two different things, the benefit of the outcome or how we
Mm,
get there. Simon's created this thing called the models method, which is extraordinarily clever at engaging people while you communicate something that could otherwise be complex in a very simple manner and leading them through that. So he's this has generated a lot of interest from corporates, from anyone who's really wanting to up their game and scale their marketing conversations, genuine conversations they have with people who are well qualified in terms of being a prospect. So he's also done a lot of work in strategic thinking, systems thinking, strategic thinking, sort of working with CEOs and heads of organizations, because if you're running an organization, you're stuck in your head, and it's very, very helpful to have someone outside your head ask the questions and see where perhaps the opportunities for growth are. Visible, scalable marketing through powerful visual frameworks is Simon's bag. Conversation today is entitled How to Turn Invisible Expertise, professional services, I guess, in particular, into a clear sales conversation in under 20 minutes. Simon, I'm going to be all ears. Let's kick off. Question number one, sir. Who's your ideal client?
Well, they're founders and CEOs of companies. We have two brackets, sort of 1 million to 20 million, and then over 20 million. The company does something significant, extraordinary in the marketplace. They know it, but they can't articulate it, Tom.
Right.
So their market wants to dilute their value to price rather than depth of thinking, if you like. And we're taught to sell the way we buy, and so your salespeople go out and sell to price rather than we think more deeply, more clearly, and more powerfully than anyone else in the marketplace, and therefore our thinking is actually the solution. And so we don't sell in that way, and that's the company we deal with. So services, technology, advisory, engineering, those sorts of things, where there's a complexity to what you do.
Right, and because you can't sit in it and drive it or swing it like a golf club, it does require an articulation. You mentioned
Yep.
that question two is the problem you solve. Now, you touched on something there I thought was a brilliant little phrase. I can't remember it, but essentially it's, people are wanting to reduce the price down to because they perceive this to be a commodity because the value hasn't been clearly articulated. And there's that old
Yeah.
saying that you and I will have heard a few times probably, given that we are short on hair and long on the tooth, which is, price is only of an issue when value remains a mystery. So is that sort of the nub of the problem you solve, that to articulate the value in a way that people understand it and value it?
It's even it's even more base level than that. Most companies that do something remarkable in a complex area have what I call company genius. It started with the founder and then it was added to over time. But that genius is often intuitive inside an organization and it's not codified or documented. We get standard operating procedures and we get culture plans and value statements and stuff, but no one ever codifies the way the company thinks about how it solves the customer's problem. And I think of this as source code. It's like the source code of a bit of software. If the source code is flawed, everything above it is flawed. But most companies are operating on this intuitive, almost invisible genius. And unless the key people are in the room, it's never communicated accurately. And so its most valuable asset, its unique way of thinking and delivering and solving the customer's problem, has never been captured, organized, or made transferable. That's what we turn into a visual model. We're basically writing the source code for the company in the form of visual models.
And I'll just add to that. Thank you, Simon. I'll just add to that. It's virtually impossible for this to be done without an outside influence such as Simon. And I'm not Simon and I don't have any sort of scratch each other's back arrangement here in terms of commissions or anything else. I'm just saying for almost 50 years of consulting and coaching experience, I can tell you that when you get a group of people in the room who are all kind of mini geniuses in their own way, and together as a team they're solving issues, it's incredibly difficult to get a clear, concise articulation of exactly how they do that. Just by putting them in a room together, you got to have my experience is you've got to have a framework and you've got to have someone like Simon to lead you through that. Let's talk about questions for Issa. Let's say someone listening to this is in your target market. They recognize that they have this problem of articulating their genius. What are some of the symptoms that they're going to be seeing in their organization that would kind of give them a heads up that they need to be finding out more about your work?
Sure. Well, for a start, pricing conversations collapse to discount. And the reason for that is the buyer's trying to distill your value at product level because they haven't recognized that the deep value is how you think. Uh, and I talk a lot about everyone's marketing on the back of unique selling propositions, and uniqueness has become commoditized today, right? What the customer
Ironically.
wants to buy is, yeah, it has. And what the customer actually wants to buy is completeness of thinking. Now, if you haven't captured and codified that, how do you even demonstrate completeness of thinking? Second thing we typically see is salespeople uh, collapse to price as well when they're put under pressure. And then the third thing that is really obvious is there's misalignment inside the organization around what we do and exactly how we do it. In other words, the thinking. And so we see long sales cycles, pressure on price, and then even misalignment in terms of the delivery. And the big conflict that occurs in most organizations between the sales teams and the fulfillment teams run rampant. Sales say, why don't they give us something we can sell? Fulfillment teams say, why don't they stop over promising? And the problem was never the two teams. It was that the source code has never been captured, codified, and agreed.
Right. And so salespeople are out there probably talking to otherwise well-qualified prospects whose eyes are glazing over because they really don't comprehend that source
Yeah.
code, that way of thinking, and the salesperson has not been equipped with a means to which communicate it clearly and simply and easily.
Yeah.
What would you think, I mean, your clients are smart people, they're growth orientated, they're gonna be trying stuff. So question 4 is, what would you say are some of the common mistakes that your prospects tell you they've made before they become clients?
They've hired more salespeople or new salespeople.
Yeah.
They're trying to fix the salespeople, as opposed to fix the underlying problem, which is you've never actually equipped them
Mm,
with a really clear framework for how
right,
you think as an organization to solve the
right.
customer's problems.
Yeah,
Or they're investing in branding and marketing to try and make the company look more polished. But if that
yeah.
company genius is invisible underneath, all the renderings that sit above it, like if the source code is flawed, all the packages that sit above it carry that flaw all the way to the market. They might engage an external agency to produce positioning statements or branding and things like that. But once again, if you're not equipping them with a clear articulation that everyone can
Mm,
understand it, here's how we think more completely and more deeply than anyone else in the marketplace. How do they represent you properly? And now what we're seeing companies do is turn to AI to act as agentic salesperson or come
mm.
up with the marketing material. And, you know, AI just builds on what you give it in the first instance. So if what you give it in the first instance is flawed, everything that comes out of AI will be flawed for you.
Oh, but it'll be better articulated flaw.
It'll be a it'll be
It'll be a very
powerfully
very very friendly flaw. Uh,
yeah,
but yeah, you put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig, unfortunately.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and that's sort of been our experience as well with copywriting and marketing lead generation is that AI can make things go faster, but, if you haven't got all the wheels on the car, faster is not necessarily a good thing. And I love what you had on your website about the green line and the red line. So Simon has a methodology to assess whether you're in a downward trend essentially or an upward trend, but we might get to that in a moment. Simon, I'm after you know, we might be in danger of, so far of focusing too much on the problem and the issues. I mean, that is important. So let's
Yeah.
flip it. Let's talk about one valuable free action that someone listening to this could take that it's probably not going to solve the whole issue of the clear articulation of value and the unique thinking, the depth of thinking, but it might take them a step in the right direction. You got a top tip?
Yeah, I do. And, it's really challenging to do,
Mm,
but it starts to get you towards the depth of what you really bring to the marketplace. I mean, if you ask your 3 best salespeople to independently describe, just in 2 minutes, what is the most significant difference about your company, the compelling and self-evident value, they'd probably give you different responses.
right.
And this idea of invisible genius or invisible company genius starts with a pretty simple question, which is 3 levels down on the value hierarchy. It's right at the base. And that question is, what is the ache that your customer has? Now, ache is, imagine you've been traveling, you've been lifting suitcases, your body aches, and you go to your physiotherapist and go, "Oh, I need a massage. I'm aching." And they go, "Where?" "Oh, I just all over." What does it feel like?" It's just an ache. And they get their finger and they poke a muscle and a sharp pain. And you go, "How did you know that was it?" And they go, "Oh, that's always the one when you've been doing what you're doing, right?" So the ache is something that the customer actually doesn't know how to articulate, name,
Mm,
or point to,
mm.
yet it's right there in the gut. They feel it in their body and their being, and that's the thing that they want you to tell them you can solve, yet that is never what people take to market. What people take to market are typically lead magnets, um, features, benefits, even outcomes. But the ache is, and I'll give you an example. Um, if you treat acne, they'll say, "Can you treat my acne?" That's not the ache. That's just the service, right? What's the outcome? Oh, clear skin and, um, you know, uh,
Social
more
acceptance and so
confidence.
on.
Yeah, yeah, social acceptance, et cetera, et cetera. But what is the ache? What's the ache, right? Someone who's had bad acne for much of their teen and adult life just wants skin they love living in. If you're the person that says, "Do you want me to clear your acne or do you want me to help you have skin you love living in?" The entire conversation just shifted. Now you've got to be able to say, "Here's my method for doing that. Could I show you my model for how I do that?" And you're in an
Yeah,
entirely different conversation to
and
everybody else.
yeah, the door of
Find
their
the
mind is now
ache.
open. Was there. Question 6, valuable free resource. Where can people go to find out more about this?
Well, it's really about what is your source code. And so modelsmethod.com/ source hyphen code hyphen diagnostic will take them to a quick little source code diagnostic that they can fill out, and it'll tell them how clearly they actually understand that deep ache underneath and have the source code documented. Um, as you said, our website has a great self-assessment on the green line and red line as well, but
Yep.
relevant to today, the source code
Okay.
diagnostic.
So, folks, it's if you're watching the video, it's underneath the video. If you're listening to this on a podcast, modelsmethod.com/source dash code dash diagnostic. Last question, sir. What's the one question I should have asked you but didn't? And the answer.
Why why no one should ever call themselves a thought leader again in business, right? We help people codify complex things into powerful visual models. Language is over relied upon. The brain, absorbs much of the world, 83% through the visual cortex, and it wants structure and organization. And yet you have people out there calling themselves thought leaders, putting a post on LinkedIn with just 2 people looking at their post. So thought
Hmm.
leadership has been completely commoditized and shouldn't come out of anybody's mouths. To be a thought leader, you need 2 things. You need original thinking and you need followers. If you don't have either one of those things, you're not really a thought leader. Stop trying to be a thought leader in your marketplace. Instead, just be the sense maker. Don't even try and be the guru. Don't even try and to be, the number one expert in the market. Just be the sense maker. Be the person that makes more sense to your customers than anyone else they meet or interact with. And that actually makes the sale. And being the sense maker means you need to understand the ache and have a method that resolves it, where the measure is the customer goes, huh, well, that makes sense.
Right.
And that's almost a release. So stop calling yourself a thought leader if you are right now. Just take
Yeah.
it off everything that you've got it in and start to become the sense maker of the marketplace and demonstrate completeness of thinking, not uniqueness.
And that makes a lot of sense. Simon Bowen, thank you
Mm.
so much for your time.
Tom, it's always a pleasure.
Cheers.
Thanks for checking out our Marketing the Invisible podcast. If you like what we're doing here, please head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review. It's very much appreciated. And if you want to generate 5 fresh leads in just 5 hours, then check out www.5hourchallenge.com.